My brother is a psychopath. He's bipolar, and when he tried to stop me from marrying my fiancé, he broke his own leg. Later, I was murdered, betrayed by my fiancé and my best friend, who had plotted together to kill me. On the day of my funeral, while I lay 6 feet under, they celebrated, laughing and planning how to spend my inheritance. My brother, with his broken leg and all, chased them across the globe like a man possessed. Covered in blood, he dragged their severed heads back to my grave. He cradled my corpse, his fingers brushing my hair, and whispered softly, "Don't worry, kiddo. Your big brother's always here. Now I've been given a second chance." When my fiancé wrapped his arms around me and asked me to drug my brother's water, I shoved that disgusting man away. What's wrong with my brother? He's just a little too good at loving me. Lila, all you have to do is pour this into your brother's drink. He'd never suspect anything from you. This stuff could knock out an elephant. Once he's out cold, I'll take you away tonight. Sound good? His fingers lightly pinched my wrist as he spoke, but my mind wasn't on him at all. My gaze wandered past him to the shadows beneath the swaying branches of the hawthorn tree outside. There stood my brother, dressed in a white button-down shirt, a chef's knife hanging loosely in one hand. He stood at the door, his expression dark and unreadable. His eyes locked onto the two of us. When I fully realized I had been reborn, I was already being dragged back into the house by my brother. In his left hand, he still held the knife. His right hand fumbled by the doorframe for something, probably rope. Not finding any, he yanked off his own tie and used it to bind my wrists. "You're not seeing Josh again, Josh, my fiancé, the man who had just asked me to drug my brother." I stayed quiet, watching as my brother meticulously tied the knot. He even patted the tie with a bit of cloth so it wouldn't chafe. "Liam," I called softly, grabbing at his fingers. He froze for a moment. In my past life, I couldn't even stand to touch him. My gesture now threw him off for a second or two. Then his hand pressed over my mouth. "Shut up. If you so much as beg for that bastard, I'll kill him myself." In my previous life, this was how the rift between us began. I was blindly in love with Josh, never realizing that he and my best friend were working together to kill me for my money. I thought he was my soulmate. I clung to him desperately, even as my brother tried to warn me that Josh wasn't who I thought he was. But I didn't listen. Blinded by anger, I lashed out at Liam, yelling things I can never take back. "You're a freak, Liam. You're trying to control me like I'm some kind of prisoner. Do you know why everyone in the neighborhood avoids you? It's because you're a monster. I hate you. I hate that you're my brother. Why couldn't I have been born into another family?" I'll never forget the look in his eyes that day. He stood there, pale and hollow, his sharp features carrying the kind of beauty that felt fragile, like glass about to shatter. He didn't yell back. He didn't argue. He simply tied me up, turned, and said in the calmest voice, "Dinner's fish head soup with tofu, my favorite dish." When I snapped out of my memories, I realized I was already tied to a chair. My brother was in the kitchen, cooking dinner. Yes, my brother is a mentally unstable control freak. But what did he ever do wrong? He simply didn't know how to love me properly. I zoned out again, only to notice my brother standing in front of me, staring down at me. "What's wrong, Liam?" I looked up at him with a smile. His voice came out low and hoarse, tinged with hesitation. "Why aren't you fighting me?" His voice hadn't always been this rough. It had become like this after years of yelling at construction sites and odd jobs to make ends meet. "All for me. You don't have to tie me up, Liam," I said gently. "I'm not going to run anymore. I'll stay by your side. I'll help you heal." But he just stared at me coldly. "Can't fight you into submission, so now you're trying to sweet-talk me?" He didn't believe me. He still thought I'd run. Turning sharply, he walked away without a second glance. I cleared my throat, letting my voice soften just enough to tug at his heartstrings. "Liam, it hurts." 3 seconds. That's all it took. He was back in front of me, frantically kneeling down as if I'd lost a limb. "Where does it hurt? Do we need to go to the hospital?" "I didn't mean to hurt you." He reached out, but then hesitated, his hand trembling in midair. I'd yelled at him before, screamed at him to never touch me. Guilt flickered in his eyes. I reached out, letting my fingers run through his soft black hair. His entire body froze like a statue, his expression one of pure disbelief, like he couldn't process what had just happened. Leaning down, I traced the corner of his eye with my finger. "Liam, this time, let me protect you." I meant it. This time, Josh and that so-called best friend of mine, those two despicable people, wouldn't get away with anything. They had no right to stain my brother's hands with their filth. "Lila, didn't I tell you to drug your brother yesterday?" Standing next to the convenience store, Josh shoved his hands into his pockets, his brows furrowed in frustration. In my previous life, I'd been so obsessed with him, it was like I'd been cursed. He treated me like a puppet, always bossing me around because he knew I'd do whatever he asked. "If you don't knock him out tonight, don't expect me to help you run away." In my past life, I'd listened to him. I'd slipped the drug into my brother's drink. But for some reason, Liam had woken up halfway through. He'd fought through the haze, stumbling after me despite barely being able to stand. I could still remember the sound of his body tumbling down the stairs, the sickening crack of his leg breaking. His eyes had been so red that day, as if they were bleeding. Even lying on the ground, he'd reached out for me, still trying to stop me from leaving. "Don't go. Come back. They're bad people." His voice, already ruined, had been raw and broken as he begged me. "Trust me, your brother will never lie to you, not even if it kills me." But back then, I thought he was just a lunatic trying to trap me in his twisted little world. Josh probably thought his threat would send me into a panic, but I didn't even blink. Instead, I glanced at him with calm indifference and asked, "This drug, it won't kill him, right?" Before Josh could answer, my best friend Danielle conveniently appeared, sauntering over with a popsicle in hand. "Oh, Lila, don't overthink it. Just use enough to knock him out. That's all." She smiled sweetly, but her words dripped with venom. "Besides, your brother's a total scumbag. He deserves it." "A scumbag? A scumbag who, in my last life, hunted you two down across continents to avenge me? A scumbag who dragged his broken body to make sure justice was served for the sister who never even trusted him? You think I don't know my own brother?" I looked up at them, my heart burning with hatred so deep I could barely contain it. I wanted nothing more than to tear them apart right there and then, but not yet. I glanced down at the bag of powder in my hand, my mind already working out a plan. Patience, I told myself. Not yet. You went to see Josh again, didn't you? The moment I walked through the door, I was pulled into his arms. His sharp nose brushed against my neck as he inhaled, his breath light and shallow. My brother always smelled faintly of hawthorn flowers, a scent that clung to him like it was a part of his soul. Under the dim light of the lamp, Liam's face looked almost ghostly pale. His features were striking, carved out like ink spilled on white paper, beautiful, but fragile, as if the slightest touch might shatter him. I started. Shut up. He cut me off roughly, his knuckles brushing against my shoulder blade. The unfamiliar sensation sent a shiver down my spine. But this time, I didn't pull away. It suddenly struck me that Liam was like a stray dog, desperate and cautious, making sure the broken little doll he'd picked up still belonged to him. I smiled faintly, reaching up to brush the messy strands of hair falling into his face. And then I froze. He was burning up. Liam, you're running a fever, I said, my voice trembling as I steadied him. He looked worse than usual, his face drained of color, his body clearly struggling. Yet he still stood there stubbornly, his eyes fixed on me. You promised you'd be back by 6, he rasped, his voice cold and hoarse. I had to wait for you. The clock was already nearing 9. It hit me like a punch to the gut. I'd completely forgotten the time because I was so caught up in my own mess. Even with his fever, even knowing I'd forgotten, Liam had waited for me. He always waited for me. He collapsed onto the couch, his exhaustion finally catching up to him. His eyes widened slightly when he saw me heading to the kitchen, because for the first time in my life, I was making him dinner. I've always been good at cooking. In my past life, I'd bent over backward trying to impress Josh, making him elaborate lunches and dinners to win his approval. But for Liam, I'd never bothered. If anything, I'd sneer at him, mock him for how little he had. It wasn't until much later that I learned he'd kept the half-eaten sandwiches I threw away, holding on to them like treasures. The shrimp and scallop porridge simmered perfectly on the stove. When it was ready, I blew on a spoonful to cool it down and held it up to his lips. Liam stared at me, suspicion flickering in his eyes, as if I'd laced the food with poison. Are you going to eat or not? I asked calmly. Reluctantly, he bit down on the spoon, his gaze dropping, strangely obedient. It was hard to believe that these were the same arms that, in another life, had severed the heads of Josh and Danielle in a fit of vengeance. Liam, I said softly as he ate, have you ever thought about our future? He paused, watching me carefully. I'm about to graduate, I continued. Your job's unstable. Why don't we sell the house and move to the coast? I want to open a flower shop. In my past life, I'd never included Liam in my plans. If anything, I told him to get lost. But he was the one who raised me, the one who sacrificed everything for me. Don't you like flowers, Liam? I asked, leaning closer. You always smell like hawthorn. Before I could finish, his hand darted out, gripping my chin firmly. His calloused fingers brushed against my lips, rough but deliberate. The way he looked at me made my breath hitch. His eyes were raw, burning with a possessiveness he didn't bother to hide. What are you trying to say? Coast? Flowers? Are you planning a getaway? His voice was low, almost a whisper. Don't lie to me, Lila. Please. The way he said my name, like it was something sacred, made my chest ache. You know as well as I do, he continued, his voice trembling, that the first thing you do in a new place is leave me behind. He wasn't wrong. In my past life, that's exactly what I would have done. Liam was like a wounded animal, scarred from years of betrayal. No matter what I said now, he'd see it as another trap, another way to hurt him. We stared at each other in the quiet room, the tension thick and suffocating. Prove it, he said finally, his voice steady but his eyes pleading. Prove what? I whispered. The lights flickered once, twice, and then went out, plunging the room into darkness. And in the darkness, Liam showed me exactly how he wanted me to prove it.